So, Prasad, one thing you speak a lot about in your teachings is the aspect of devotion in our practice. I was wondering if you can explain to everyone what devotion in a yoga practice looks like, how can it be cultivated, and how you see that benefiting us as yoga students.
Wow, that's a very that's a very broad question. It is actually the base question of a whole orientation of yoga understood as Bhakti
Mm-hmm.
Yoga. So I will try to be as brief as possible. Yes, you're completely right when you say that Bhakti is important, and I really, really believe Bhakti is important. There are two orientations of yoga that I feel are very important for today's day and age. Number one is Hatha Yoga, that is orientation of taking care of our body and through the body sorting out the mind.
Mm-hmm.
And another orientation is orientation of Bhakti Yoga or cultivating reverence, faith, and devotion towards a higher reality.
Mm-hmm.
So, what we see, if we see the last 100 or 150 years of uh, movement of yoga from the east to west, we see that this aspect of yoga didn't really move much to the west.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps because of the um, um, coming together of devotion and religion.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, People who took yoga from the east to the west avoided that. You know, a physical practice is very secular. It's for the body,
Mm-hmm.
nothing to do with God or religion.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't always have to look at devotion from the point of view of religion.
Mm-hmm.
I believe devotion is the heart of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, as long-time yoga practitioners, that yoga practice can tend to become very monotonous, very bland,
Mm-hmm.
unless you cultivate the aspect of heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a chore. So somewhere we need to bring in the aspect of heart, and that heart of yoga is in bhakti. In fact, if you look at so many uh, yogis from the medieval or earlier period who were scholars, who were logicians like Adi Shankaracharya or Gauranga Mahaprabhu. There are so many who were scholars in highly regarded scholars. They gave all the philosophizing
Mm-hmm.
in order to melt their hearts into bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, why? Because we have to understand that ultimately we are loving, sensing beings. And our common denominator amongst all of us, the common ground, the base premise in all of us is the heart.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Hridaya Akash, the space of the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And that space of the heart is filled with love.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why any spiritual path across the world, not just the path of yoga, but any spiritual path will always talk about love being the essential reality.
Mm-hmm.
And unless and until we open ourselves to this love that is within us,
Mm-hmm.
everything else will become or becomes a mind game. So we have a choice to get into this mind game and keep going round and round and round in circles, or open ourselves to the huge and beautifully spectacular domain of love through bhakti.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is bhakti? Bhakti is usually translated as devotion,
Mm-hmm.
but I translate it in a different way. Actually, if you look at the Sanskrit term bhakti, it doesn't mean devotion. It means constant remembrance. Bhaja means constant remembrance. Now, I translate bhakti as a path of generating trust.
Mm-hmm.
I translate bhakti is path of accepting your emotion and transforming them towards higher truth.
So if someone was feeling stressed or worried in their day-to-day life, they could transfer that to just generating more faith and patience.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, look, faith and fear are two opposites.
Mm-hmm.
If your faith is stronger, the fear is less.
Mm-hmm.
If your faith is weaker, fear is higher.
Mm-hmm.
So the path of bhakti is all about generating faith in someone or something that is bigger, higher, and more intelligent, more loving, more kinder than you.
Mm-hmm.
And once you have that totality of faith, you completely accept whatever comes your way joyfully.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nobody says that suffering reduces, but
Reaction.
your reaction to suffering or your endurance of suffering
Mm-hmm.
is increased.
Mm-hmm.
So bhakti is very, very important. How to generate that bhakti, we will talk about it in the next segment because it's going to take um, some time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.